Hello everyone and welcome back to our YouTube channel here on TBR Media. My name is Jared and today I've got a very special treat for you all. I am talking with filmmaker Marcellus Cox about his new film Mickey Hardaway. Marcellus Cox is a writer and director from Los Angeles, California, who has always had a passion for filmmaking and storytelling, which we dive into in the interview. His filming style deals with dark and edgy themes, pushing the limits as far as he can possibly go, and his storytelling touching on subjects such as race, mental health, religion, social and political issues. His work has screened in over 200 international film festivals, won over 150 international film awards, and has screened nationwide on CBS, Fox, ABC, Shorts TV, Revolt TV, Crime and Investigation, Link TV, and even PBS. Mickey Hardaway is coming later this year in September, and it'll be in limited release in Los Angeles and New York, and then also on streaming or video on demand, and I encourage everyone to check it out. But without further ado, here's the interview. I am here with filmmaker Marcellus Cox. He has his new debut feature film out, Mickey Hardaway, and we're excited to talk about it here. Marcellus, in the past you've mentioned films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit as kind of like an inspiration for you as a kid. Can you talk about that a little bit and just kind of what drew you to filmmaking? Maybe some other films outside of that have inspired you.
Well, I definitely was talking about that one. So I remember that was one of the very few films I remember watching early in my life, and I remember watching it with my grandma. And my grandma was such a massive fan of the classic animation cartoons. So we used to always go over to places like New Beverly, and we would watch cartoons there, and how they used to do like the old school shows there. So like as they're still doing now, but they usually have to have a cartoon day there. So such a big fan of people like Bob Clampett or like Chuck Jones. So that was a huge inspiration. Like they showed me the film, it completely blew my mind, and it still do because of the whole comment I love the most in cinema. So that one still holds my mind today. How Robert Zemeckis was able to watch it. I'm always trying to steal something artistically from it. So that was what really drew me into the filmmaking, and then from there it just went on and just studying the craft. And I really just love these sort of aesthetic aspects of storytelling, where it's really more focused on the individual and their struggles and their determination to get out of those factors, and it just really had just helped advance my love of the craft even further.
Yeah, and that's what I really love about your style too, man. You aren't afraid to touch on, socio-political issues, racial justice, mental health, and it's really refreshing, to see as a viewer first and foremost. These are all problems that we face as individuals on, an everyday basis. And so to see those brought to life, and, films can be entertaining, and we always love an entertaining film, but I think the power of art and the power of filmmaking is actually within the story itself. And if you're able to capture those moments, it's so refreshing. So I know you're a fan of French New Wave films as well. Are there any particular films that you would like to give a shout out, or maybe you watch like repeatedly over and over again?
Repeatedly over and over again, The 400 Blows. The 400 Blows is probably the film I watch repeatedly, like when it comes to French New Wave, because of the aesthetic of the storytelling. It's one of those films that really help change the narrative by grounding the story. It doesn't feel like it's like Hollywood, like over the top, where the story is so extravagant that it just makes you forget about what the characteristics of an individual is supposed to be at times. So the fact that Francisco Truffaut was really like grounded into the story, it made those characters feel as human as possible. It didn't feel like this was a movie. It felt like you were literally watching someone's life as it was taking place as a whole. So movies like that, movies like Breathless to this day, it changed the way that you can shoot a film, the way that you're able to truly focus on the character development of individuals, that they feel so normal. Like it's just me having a conversation with my girlfriend, or so on and so forth. You know what I mean? Everything feels real. Everything feels like it was just completely, there's a typical one-on-one conversation that was just blended between the camera and the landscape of what was taking place at that time. So movies like for French New Wave has always been like my aesthetic of what is normal in life and what I can play with the camera in order to make it seem like it's artistic in terms of what the audience wants to see on the big screen, but knowing that I'm still giving you a realistic experience.
That's a great answer. Specifically with French New Wave and how it differs from classical Hollywood cinema. They're some of my favorite films to watch. Just foreign films that aren't centered around our traditional American filmmaking style. And that was one of the things that I noticed heavily in Mickey Hardaway, So where do your real life experiences kind of intersect with the stories that you tell as a filmmaker? And I've heard you mention in the past, that you're a true auteur filmmaker. And so kind of speak to that a little bit more. What does that mean?
Well, I feel like the true auteur filmmaker is the individual who has the first and foremost the artistical aesthetic at the forefront. Like, I don't have a problem with, say, superhero films or even the big blockbuster films. That's fine, but it doesn't have a true artistical aesthetic. It has a good meaning behind it in terms of pleasing the audience, but it doesn't give anything, I feel, that helps really truly shape the experience of what an individual was going through in life. And I know movies are supposed to be an escape from that reality, and that's fine. I understand that, but I always feel like movies are the best cure in terms of like really truly studying what society is. And when it's brought to the forefront and it's brought visually in such a realistic manner that you have to respect it and understand that, hey, this is what we're going through as a society as a whole. You have to be able to visually showcase and monitor these moments in the most realistic possibility as you possibly can. And I feel like as an auteur, that the best way to do that is with the storytelling, is with the writing, is with the character development, is to give life to certain situations I guess people kind of want to avoid, but yet give it to them in a manner to where visually you see this as a character study. You're seeing this as true form of, in my opinion, and I mean not to say it in a narcissistic way in my viewpoint, but it's really just more showing you who you are from any standpoint of cinematic perspective, of art perspective. Is showing the individuals who they are, showing the world for what it is. And I feel like with auteurs, that you've seen like a Bergman, or you've seen like a Tarkovsky, or you've seen like an Altman, or you can go on and on, a Scorsese. They're the best type of filmmakers and really truly showing the world what it is and that we can't escape this. So the best work is what you see is the realest work. And that's why I feel like in terms of the auteur, and it doesn't matter what subject it is, whether it's sci-fi, or whether it's a Western, or whether it's even a comedy. It just has to be something that artistically is real, artistically passionate about, and artistically brings something new to everybody's daily perspective of life. So that's my viewpoint of being an auteur, and I think that that's the way I look at cinema. But don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem sitting down watching The Dark Knight or something like that, and I can have a good time with that. But if you ask me, would I rather watch that or watch something from the perspective of a taxi driver where I know I can actually study an individual and study characteristics, that's where I'm always going to go towards.
All right, yeah, that's a fair answer. I feel the same way. One of the things that I liked most about the recent Guardians film, I don't know if you've seen it, was the fact that James Gunn does have a central style that is really prevalent throughout the whole movie. And so you really feel that kind of artistic integrity in films like that. And I love that you brought that up, that you can have that within kind of a broader genre that's geared towards entertainment more so. But I think the real stories are the ones that matter the most. So tell us a little bit about your debut feature, Mickey Hardaway, and kind of, what went into making that. It's shot in black and white beautifully by Jamil Gooding. How does that kind of cinematography enhance this particular story?
So Mickey Hardaway is a psychological drama. It follows a young sketch artist who agrees to an in-house therapy session with a well-renowned psychiatrist in an attempt to try to gain control of his life again after years of physical and verbal abuse is kind of taking a toll on him. This particular story, being able to work with Jamil and bring it visually to life, it was something that I was really passionate about. I've been wanting to tell since maybe really my freshman year of film school back in 2005. So it's been something that's been riding through my heart for most of my life. And I I just felt like at this point in life, I was more mature enough to finally tell it. And the fact that this is the first feature that was really like slated for me was perfect, because I know this story. I know this character. I know this life from whether you're a musician or whether you're a painter, or whether you're an actor or an actress. You know these struggles of not only having to surface the I guess the societal viewpoint of wanting to be in this craft and understanding what it takes to be it, and then having to face real reality of people who are trying to knock you down and keep you from those goals and make you think more realistic. The cinematography behind it was really all Jamil. Jamil is a genius artistically behind this, because he sees the world the way that I see the world, and it's just like right in front of you. So we focus a lot on tight shots and close-ups, because we want to be able to emphasize those characters, and you can really see that these are real people. So that was a viewpoint for us, medium close-ups as much as possible to cover landscapes, but at the same time, you can really feel the person's body language. You can see what it is that's bothering them, what it is that's haunting them, what it is that they love, what it is they hate. So these particular shots were really kind of like just, I guess they're second nature to us, because we both think the same way cinematically. But at the same time, we both know that this is how you see life when you're dealing with people. Like how I see you, we're close up here, but if I see you in a normal setting, it's a medium shot wide, and I can see everything about you within that setting. And that's how we wanted to present it. And we did this with no shot list. We just really just went in there and shot it. So we kind of already know the aesthetic of the wide, medium, the close-ups, but I always told him, whenever you see something, just go get it. And you can see those certain moments with these actors who are, playing the role, and you can kind of feel it. You can get a glimpse of what it is when they're in that moment. So for us, it was just like, you know what, let's get that overhead shot of this, or just get this close-up shot here. And you can kind of see, like, every single time we got those shots, the actors brought it more and more and more, being invested into it. So, we got lucky with the cinematography. But you know what? We wanted to just keep it as honest and as real as humanly possible, just to keep it as grounded as possible within the visual aesthetic of it.
Yeah, thank you for all that information. I think, not having that shot list, not having any sort of storyboard beforehand is frightening. And so the fact that you were able to go in there and just trust your instincts, that's incredible. And let me just say too, as a viewer, one of the things I love most about this film is what you were just talking about, the intimate close-up camera work. And then, you drain the color from the frame, in kind of a monotone style with the black and white cinematography. And that really enhances the characters here. And it all worked really well. So props to you guys for that. But, to my understanding, this was initially a proof of concept. So can you talk a little bit about that? I know that you had mentioned in the past that, yes, it was a proof of concept, but it kind of circulated as, a short film in festival circuits. And so you always intended it to be a feature. So what was that process like, starting out with a short and then moving to the feature film?
So the crazy part is it was never really meant to be a short at all. It was supposed to be like right to the feature. So I did another short called I'm Sorry, and that had played the circuit. We played like Holy Shorts and Florida Film Fest and a couple other festivals, and we got great reviews on it, and it did well. I thought I was done with the short. And then I got the funding for Mickey Hardaway, and then COVID hit. And that completely just destroyed everything. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, and we said, you know what, since everything's going to be virtual anyway, we might as well just go ahead and just shoot it. So that was just kind of like the viewpoint, just to give the audience something to see as we were putting the characters together and the story together. Because I to be honest with you, I was disappointed in the concept short because I didn't want to make a short out of it. I really wanted to just go right into the feature. Like I will never forgive myself for having that viewpoint, because it did so much more for me than I ever expected. It just gave me a greater opportunity to come even more prepared artistically with the feature. So this short was a curse but a blessing at the same time, and it also gave me the opportunity to meet Rashad Hunter, because I didn't have him cast as the original Mickey. It was another actor who backed out of the project, and we got lucky meeting Rashad, and Rashad was like the heart and soul of this movie. So, that short, it's definitely a curse, but it is a blessing at the same time. So I'm glad I went forward with the concept.
You had previously mentioned that you had used beam lights to really capture all of the footage in the short, or the proof of concept. And you had mentioned COVID and kind of how that changed the casting and the production a little bit on that set. Were there any changes that were made during the feature where you had to pivot in the moment there, kind of last minute, like you did in the short?
Yeah, we did. So if you ever see the short with the living room scene, originally the mother, who was played by Gayla Johnson, was supposed to be in the shot, but she wasn't on the set because of COVID, so she had to leave the set. So basically, we kind of went that scene without it, and that kind of brought a different perspective from the short to the feature. So people who do see that just understand what that was. But for the most part, though, I did switch up on the beam lights from the short to the feature, because I felt like there were certain moments that were just too dark in certain shots. So I kind of went with a little bit of the LED lights as we were using the feature. So, I mean, I actually kind of regret that, because I do love the aesthetic shot of the short just a little bit more. That's just me being picky as a filmmaker, but I understand that. So, there's those subtle things like that, but for the most part, the short is basically that you see is a reflection of the feature. So it's basically word for word, just taking this couple of scenes and just switching certain things out because of COVID. We didn't have access to the classrooms in the short because of COVID, so we were able to get that in the feature. Just certain little things like that were changed differently. But the beam lights was probably the biggest change. I'll never forgive myself, because I really wanted to use those more in the feature. So that's something that's going to haunt me forever. But for the most part, though, yeah, it wasn't really too much change.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I had a film that I was actually shooting during COVID, and, we had everything set up. We had different establishments that we were shooting at, different locations, and all of that went south. Were there any moments during filming that you kind of had to go guerrilla style with it, something unplanned where you just kind of had to go with it?
Yeah, we had a lot of that, and particularly the day that we were shooting the house scene in the short. We kind of had a moment where you can hear the Black Lives Matter protest going down, like literally a block over. So as we're shooting the concept short, you can hear the people marching. So we ended up rolling down the street, and if you ever watch the short, you can watch it on Prime Video, and you will see the opening where you'll see the paintings of George Floyd and others who were harassed and was actually murdered and killed during that time and period. And you can see the paintings. So all of that was unplanned. We didn't plan for any of that. So all of that really kind of transpired. The feature, there was a lot. There was a lot of but yeah, there was a lot of it. A lot of that, I think I'd be better to talk to you about it off camera.
Hey.
I don't want to say things that would offend people. So
yeah, I get you.
But for the most part, yeah, there's a lot of it.
Not a lot of people that probably watch our channel here or, tune in to our programming probably know what it's like to fund an actual project, let alone a feature film. So talk about the process of kind of assembling all of these resources necessary to actually begin production on Mickey Hardaway. How long, did this process take overall, from proof of concept to before? You said you were writing this, back in 2005. So talk about that process just over time.
So, yeah, basically just that whole process of writing this back in 2005 in school. So I basically just went almost 2020 with this. So almost 15 years of just completely just writing the script and just fine tuning it. And that's a long time when you're basically trying to fine tune something that's so passionate to you. Make sure you don't screw it up. Make sure that you're mentally mature enough to handle it and artistically mature enough to handle it. So once we did the concept short, which I funded and out of my own pocket, I was working with another producer. That kind of went south. We didn't see eye to eye on things. But the concept short was kind of still moving. And one of the producers I've worked with in the past, Armando Townsend, agreed to fund the movie, $30,000 to make it. We didn't have any other and tell it the way visually that I want. We also have some free resources, the locations that were free. This is going like bare bones guerrilla style with a lot of the shots in the city that you see. Not to spoil any shots, but like the Santa Monica Pier and stuff like that. So we're really like super grassroots with this, like a lot of independent films, and just begging, doing a lot of begging. But for the most part, when people know your work and they've seen your work and they believe in you, you get a lot of help. So I'm blessed to have the people who are willing to like just give up their time and come work on the set for free, and and like donate food and stuff like that. So that was really a blessing. But yeah, geez, I get sick to my stomach thinking about just the whole process of making this movie for $30,000, because it is rough.
Yes.
It is not easy. It is not easy at all. So, but it's rewarding when the movie is done and you get to see everybody's reaction to it and the way that everybody has gravitated towards it. There's still certain things I wish I can do better. I'm picky about like sounds. We just got blessed with some funding to finish up working on some small pieces of the sound now.
I guess then, from the streaming and the theatrical side of things, what does that track kind of look like for Mickey Hardaway in the future here?
So, well, we started wait for the press release before we drop it, but the track right now is looking that it's going to be released digitally and theatrically September 29th. It'll start out in LA and it'll start out in New York, and then from there, the very next week, we'll be going on to Prime Video, and then we'll be hopefully going on to formats like Tubi and Peacock and stuff like that as well later on, but throughout the year. So I'm excited for it. It's been on these brought it. So, this really is a moment for them and all of their hard work and their dedication and, the things that they helped make possible, because without them, it's not possible. And even more so for me, because I'm just so happy to be away from this film. I'm so happy to kind of just move on and hopefully start focusing on the second feature. But I look at it as like, I finally did something from a feature length standpoint to where I'm proud of it. It's like, okay, I know going forward that this is only going to help me get even better, and hopefully this will lead to bigger projects.
Yeah, I hope so too for you, man. It was a great film, and a lot of it, you kind of touched on it earlier, but a lot of it centers around that kind of artistic oblivion, people, whether they mean to or not, ignoring certain aspects of an individual's life, and a lot of that comes out through the family interactions, the friendships, and the institutions themselves, kind of not always necessarily ignoring the talent of Mickey, the main character, but also like just kind of like brushing it off a little bit. Yeah, oh yeah, you're good, but like maybe next time. And so, as a creative myself, a lot of that is so like relatable to I would say any medium of artistic creation, really. And so it's such a broad scope of value for people to really watch this film. So I do highly encourage it. But as far as your future projects go, I know you're hard at work right now writing Jefferson Street. So can you talk a little bit about that project and kind of where that's going at this moment?
Yeah, I most definitely can. So Jefferson Street is a period piece set in East Texas, 1951. It's about a black detective who travels down to the South to investigate the murder of his mother at the hands of the Ku Klux Klan. It's been a project that has been in the works for about 5 years now. Originally, I got the story from another writer who didn't want anything to do with it, and he sold me the story for about, I think it was like $20. Believe it or not, you can buy somebody's story for about $20 just to be able to say, hey, I didn't steal this from you. So, and I've been kind of taking it and just fine tuning it and playing with it ever since. And it's been something that, has really, really been on my mind. This is really what I wanted to make as my first feature. But of course, when you're asking for like $2.5 million, that sometimes you're not going to get that right away. So, I'm just happy that right now I pretty much put myself in a position to where I know that on the second feature, I'll be able to actually be given that opportunity to raise that funds and to make that. In terms of casting, I've had certain actors in mind, and hopefully I can move forward with them. And I'm ready to go into it. So once we're done with Mickey Hardaway fully, once it's completely streaming and playing on the circuit, the focus shifts 1,000% into that. And I'm just doing just a minor rewrite on it, but the script is pretty much ready to go, and I'm just looking forward to actually getting this made. And I think this is gonna cinematically do some really great things, and I have some really big plans artistically with this. So, playing with certain different camera angles and shots and stuff like that. So, and be working with Jamil again on that. So, if the two of us are doing that, then that's a passion project. So this is going to be one of those slow burns, but it will be something that's really worth the watch. So
awesome. I can't wait for that. You've tackled like period pieces in the past with your short, like Rise Up from 2014. How is your approach going to change from then to now on this project? Being that was a short film and this is a feature, are there other aspects of the time period that you're going to really utilize?
Really just kind of like getting a real deeper as that people were drinking that. They really want to dive deep into the point where it feels like when you're watching it on the screen, you're really in that moment. Certain things I do kind of want to change, which you would normally see in that kind of period. Wise from the civil rights era, it's already taking place, so we don't want to throw that and hammer that down anybody's face. I've completely wiped that out. So this will be focused purely as a pure crime thriller drama type of story, just focusing on the individuals of that time period. So there's little certain things like that those aesthetics I kind of want to just get away from, because they're just like they're just, I don't want to say they're annoying, but they're just like there's no use for it in my setting. So you won't hear the slow sobbing music that you would normally hear in those type of music. Those type of scenes as well. So, like after every 2 or 3 minutes, there's some sort of slow score that's popping up out of nowhere. So it's just things like that. I just want to keep like a real grounded, real neutral like type of setting where nothing feels cartoonish, nothing feels like it's just like, oh my God, here we go again. I want you to really understand these individuals and why they do what they do, and try to make it as real in terms of the cinematic viewpoint as much as possible.
So at this point in the interview, we usually dive into a few rapid fire questions just off the top of your head, first thing that comes to mind. So starting with a film that you wish you had directed.
I've always loved The Hustler. The Hustler with Paul Newman. That's one movie like I wish I could have directed. I would have loved to have told that story with Jackie Gleason and George C. Scott and Pippi Lorna. That would have been a really great movie for me to direct, because I'm working on a Paul Hustler film too, so I'm trying to stay as far away from that as possible. So that's definitely one that I wish I could have directed for sure.
Awesome. Do you prefer movie theaters, being in the theater, having that cinematic experience, or streaming?
Theater.
Yes.
I hate streaming. I hate streaming with a passion. Now, unless the movie's already on streaming, I'm at the house, I'm just doing some writing, okay, I'll sit and watch, but every movie should be watched on the big screen. I love going to old school theaters and watching old school movies on the big screen in 35 or 16 or even 70 millimeters. So I'm always going to choose theater. There's no better experience to watch a movie than in the theater setting.
Yeah, and I'm jealous of you, by the way. So obviously you're out in LA. Being in Omaha here, Omaha, Nebraska, we don't have a lot of theaters that are actually playing analog film anymore. So everything's kind of all digital. So it's hard to find that screening of a really good, classic film that I want to see done right. So I'm jealous of that, man. Do you have a favorite?
You know what? When the time comes, when you come out to LA, I got some places I'll take you, man. We can always go over to the UCLA archive and get the 35 and 16 millimeter prints. I'll take you to some places where you can play them with a live audience. You're gonna dig it.
I'm gonna hold you to that. If I'm in LA when I come next, you'll hear from me.
My man, let's do it.
Do you have a favorite movie theater snack? Kind of curtailing on that last question. Then, what's your go-to snack that you really can't go without during a movie?
M&M's with peanuts. M&M's with peanuts is one that I definitely can't watch a movie without. Like, even if I have to stop at a 7-Eleven and go get my own. Like, I don't like to steal money away from the theaters, but I'm just saying that's for me like my go-to snack when I go to any theater. Like, you got to have that. If you don't have that, then my mood is already going south. So the movie better make up for it.
There you go. All right. And then last question here, a song that you currently have on repeat.
Jeez. You know what? It's not even like a modern day song right now. It's Wise One by Coltrane. Because I've been listening to it for a score idea. So that's definitely something that I have on repeat. I also have Body and Soul by Sonny Stitt. So I'm all jazz right now, just listening to scores. Those are like the music that I have on repeat right now. So
hey, you know, like when you're sitting down and actually conceptualizing a short or a feature, though, like I find it so easy to just throw on like either a soundtrack or maybe, you know, instrumental music that doesn't have any words or, you know, any spoken language at all, just to really help you kind of get in that mindset. So you're in writing mode, so it totally makes sense, man. All right. Well, I appreciate your time today, Marcellus. I mean, it's great talking to you about Mickey Hardaway. I love the film. I think, you know, when it does eventually hit VOD in theaters, if you're in New York or LA, I highly recommend that you go out and see this movie. I think it's super important, you know, just telling the story of you know, the artist and, you know, what it does kind of over the years to people. I think it's important and it's definitely timely, and you have a certain style that I'm sure people are going to love. So thank you so much for joining us today on this interview, and we hope to hear from you soon.
My man, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be the first filmmaker to do this with you in a live setting. So I think it went good. I think it went smooth. So I'm excited, man.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
And if you want to see more interviews with filmmakers like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel, like this video, comment who you want us to interview next, and we'll be happy to try and do so. But thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.